Full sweeping shot leading us into game number 4. Match point for Lyon. They're 1 win away from earning themselves that ticket straight to Worlds. Once again, Siva, Shen, this time the Kench being banned away.
So they banned this when they were on blue side previously. Wouldn't be surprised to see the Casio come out now, and it looks like the Lyon are sticking to their bans as well. The big difference for them is whether or not they're going to go for the final Gangplank ban. Because the Gnar is still available, the Vlad is still available. I feel like you should have just given away the Vlad. You actually ban away the Gnar, and then you pick something like the Kassadin. That is definitely something that Saya can play. It would have worked perfectly fine into the Vlad, and it even would have outscaled him. But now you're in a situation where you have little to no good picks into this matchup, unless Jarrell pulls out the Aurelia.
They actually could have made use of the Tahm Kench ban that Albus NoX utilized. If you give the Vlad away, then you can take a pick composition of your own, get that Malzahar pick going, and actually start to shove in. They haven't even, they've had one game of play of Malzahar, Saya has, so I don't see the reason not to go for it. Ashe is available too, they lock it in.
Oddie was just drifting through all the junglers of yesteryear. Unfortunately, Sejuani and Evelyn never going to be seeing play for quite some time until maybe a few quality of life changes here, but they go for the Gragas and the Ashe. White Lotus Ashe has been on point.
Well, we wondered what would happen if Miracle had no ADs left. He has only played Jhin and Ashe. Now he is going to be tested. He doesn't have to pick it up on this rotation, but an Ezreal here would be relatively safe. If you're Albus NoX, I feel like that Rek'Sai would make the most sense in terms of a jungler. He acts as a good front line. He can provide early pressure, relatively good into the Ashe as well. Or you could look to just pick up the Malzahar relatively early. Get something safe underneath your belt.
Do you think maybe all that brand nonsense about him, oh, we pick him, we win, he's open, we pick him, we win, maybe just a front? And it's all about the Jhin that they really want. They really want the Jhin. So like, oh yeah, our brand is so strong. Please ban that away, guys. Haha, we'll win. But it seems if you ban the Jhin, they're actually like, oh, damn, they're actually so through our facade here.
Well, that's been the major strength of Albus NoX in the actual group stages was the fact that Lecrit was eating up so many bans, that so many picks, so many power picks for Albus NoX were coming forward.
Yeah.
And not only just the power picks, the comfort picks as well. And so one of the comfort picks that have been spared up until this very moment was the Jhin and the Ashe pick. Now that it's both gone, this is the first time we're actually seeing Albus NoX pick something else, and it looks like it's going to be that Lucian.
But what's more interesting is the Anivia being picked up by Saya.
Oh wow, he just straight locked that in.
Yep, he didn't even hesitate. Now what you want to do is lock in your support. Tahm Kench is banned. Braum is the next pick. He provides fantastic peel. You could also go for Taric here. Been very little value on Taric so far throughout the tournament, or at least during the playoffs. Save your top lane pick. Like, Aurelia has a lot of opportunity to be strong here. I feel like this is a very early echo pick that you don't need to rotate now, because you can be fairly confident that Braum, you take it away from the Lucian. You also limit the number of supports that Albus NoX then have available to draft. But it's more than likely going to be the Bard because of how effective the Bard is into the Anivia. And when you look at mid laners into Anivia, I feel like there are very few champions that Kira can pull out. Perhaps he goes for the Taliyah in this instance. This could be one of those situations where the Taliyah is actually very good because of her ability to early shove and actually match the Anivia's wave clear.
I would disagree. I think this last pick support is fairly intelligent going up against Albus NoX. There are simply too many picks, and with Tahm Kench down, you really have no safety in that. You really don't want to be blind picking into a possible brand. They've dealt with it before. They have the Ashe again. Ashe Gragas, that is. So it is a plus, but they're just going to go with the safe echo pick here.
Thing is, I feel like that Brand, while it's good during the laning phase, the moment you hit level 6, that would easily swing in the favor of Ashe Braum. Their all-in power is just too strong, and a Brand is way too squishy to be able to deal with it. But regardless, they are going to save it for the last pick. Surprised that a Victor's actually coming out.
Yeah.
We got to keep in mind that Kira knows Anivia inside and out, right? So surely he knows what is good against it. So maybe picking up this Victor, something he struggles with personally on Anivia, might look to exploit some of these things.
Potentially, but I mean, when you...
Yeah, that's what I'm going on.
I mean, when you think of the match, I mean, we've seen that, like, Victor right now in the meta is not strong.
Yeah.
We've seen it from Crown over in LCK. He made it work fantastically, actually going for a relatively early Lich Bane. Which means you can actually put the Victor in a side lane because it increases his dueling power. But we haven't seen very much side lane mid laners in this series, and he's just picking a control mage to match what the Anivia can provide. And when you compare the two, they both have solid wave clear, they both have powerful mid to late game damage, and they both provide very solid zone control. The ultimate from Anivia and the W from the Victor is just so effective at zoning your opponents away that it makes playing around objectives incredibly strong.
Yeah, and so I think that this has been really well done for Lyon. A good point for Albus NoX is they do end up picking the Rek'Sai. I did want to see that. I want to actually have them pressure Audi. Now it's going to be interesting to see if they actually can get that going, since they're finding themselves in a lot of new picks.
The last pick there that we kind of didn't touch on was Arce actually getting that Janna for himself, so super defensive into that Bard.
He has played it before throughout the tournament.
Oh, true.
He has actually brought it out once, so it's definitely not something completely surprising, not unfamiliar to the player. I'm just a little bit surprised that he would bring it out now. I feel as though there were better picks to provide slightly stronger appeal.
Sure.
But I'm actually remembering he's had some fantastic plays on that Janna. He made some really incredible like 1v2 outplays, and his ability to play the champion was very impressive. But when you actually look at the overall composition, this time you have much more of a team fight comp. You have great scaling. Your early game is not going to be as dominant. You're likely going to lose the majority of those lanes. No, all three of them in the early you're actually going to give over to Albus NoX. So now we're going to see how Lyon deals when not having pressure in all three lanes.
And we're going to have to get into this game very shortly here because we are potentially one game away. It's an absolute intense moment here. Albus NoX up against the wall. They need to win this one and the next if they want to have their hope of making it to Worlds. But Lyon, it's within their grasp as we jump in to Summoner's Rift. One game away for Lyon. They need this. They want this. They're so damn close. The only people standing in their way right now are Albus NoX Luna.
It's going to be interesting to see how this bottom lane works, because with Ashe, Janna, they should be able to have the shove early. Skirmishes should go in Albus NoX's advantage, but Ashe and Janna, that's a fairly aggressive lane, especially with the poke coming out with the shield, extra AD coming onto Ashe.
Thing is, if you're focusing on trading, that takes away from your ability to shove the wave. So it'd be good to track that lane, because this is not the most common lane that you often see. Because when you just compare supports, the ability to actually trade is so much stronger for the Lucian and the Bard, where they can just walk up, land the Cosmic Binding, they can just zone you away with the Cosmic Binding because there's no real answer, and you have to play very much around the Ashe, which is why typically when you see a Janna, it's better to put them with a more aggressive support who can take full advantage of the shield, whereas Ashe, the moment the shield gets put down, the Lucian can just back off. And then wait for the shield to run out, and then when it's gone, you can just move back up and start playing aggressively again.
I just think that Lyon right now, they should be playing towards opening up Audi. With Rek'Sai being picked through, right now, sure, Smurf can get the shove, should probably get the shove. Oh, okay.
No. Goodbye, Albus fans.
they just died right there. That's just what happens. But Lyon should look to try and shove out lanes however possible. Seiya will concede up against Kira. That's just the natural point of this lane. Unless if those trades come through, then it won't be that easy. But as long as they provide a good a good amount of space for Audi to actually look to farm out and maybe make him a good pressure point of his own, then that should be the plan.
So it took a few of the early jungle raptors there. Get himself maybe a slight XP advantage coming into this mid lane. That's why we saw Lecrit make his way up. Get a nice ward down, just check to see if that's exactly where Seiya was, or he's up to some shenanigans in there. But level 2's been hit first for Lyon, as Lecrit, like we said, he moved up into that jungle, so missed a few experience minions.
He wanted to get some vision down to see if Lyon were actually going for some kind of invade.
Yeah.
But that did not end up resulting in anything. Lecrit a little bit behind in experience, which is stymieing the pressure that they want to exert. But this mid lane matchup is, as you were mentioning earlier, Victor does have the early advantage, largely because it's super easy for him to trade with his Q. So every time he walks up, he can literally just throw out the Q, and then he has that empowered auto attack. And he doesn't even need to land the Q onto Anivia. He can use the Q onto a minion and just walk up, auto attack the Anivia, and it's incredibly difficult for her to trade back. And then he can primarily use his E as just wave clear to shove her underneath the turret, and she just can't match that sort of level of wave clear early on. So this sort of matchup is okay for the Victor, because he should be able to have an extended laning phase to the point with which he can go back with 1250 gold, which is one of the big reasons as to why Victor fell off.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in the top lane, I feel like it's with Gnar matchup, it's always weird.
Yeah.
Especially since Gnar can generally win out against every champion, especially once he gets the Frozen Mallet. But with Echo, with Irelia, especially once the Sheen does come out, he can definitely take advantage of the mini Gnar that does come through. So if he's able to get small trades in and out, even just look to shove out the lane, that should just be his primary focus. Then that's the advantage he's looking to gain. But then he's got to be a lot more aware of the trades he starts taking.
Another advantage of the Echo in the early game is he actually has a little bit more pushing power than the Gnar because of his Q. So he can get those couple of early levels. It's just that, as you rightly said, once a couple of items are under their belt, it's a little bit more dicey. It's very much about where the wave is managed, and Echo just needs to be a little bit more careful as he's pushed up the lane, because if the Gnar lands that boomerang onto you and you've already burnt your E, it's going to be very difficult to escape, especially if a jungler then comes around the corner. So
yeah, if there's a jungler there, it's an insta-kill. If he's not there at all, that's probably just half your HP being taken down.
Yep.
So it's very, very punishing.
We'll have to see if Stayers can make his presence known, especially get some tracking potential onto Oddie. That was kind of what we were alluding to when he went for this Rek'Sai pick, is maybe about time they can do something. And that's what you mentioned, Vedius. The second the shield goes down, Lucian just turns tails and says, I don't want to deal with this.
But you can also see how difficult it is for an Ashe to take advantage of the shield, because she doesn't have a gap closer. She had to walk through all those minions. She fired a W, and then she still didn't hit it because Lucian was just sitting behind us. We see a gang in the mid.
Oh, Saya gets knocked up, egged immediately, but that's a flash for both the mid laner and the jungler. Oddie making his way through, keeping the omelet safe for now.
So the cryogenic Phoenix is going to come back. Still at an ever so slight CS deficit thanks to the pressure that Kira had been putting down onto him. But so far, nothing too extravagant in the early laning phase. LYN just experiencing this early deficit that we predicted during Champions League.
I just want to see how A Miracle can survive this lane once Licrit does start to output some wards, start to roam towards this mid lane, especially with the egg down, egg and flash. You'd have to expect him to look to take advantage of that. So if he does that, then A Miracle does have to start to play a little bit more safely. It's going to be a lot more difficult if he's trying to accrue the same amount of farm he did on previous champions. Won't be as free now that he's on Lucian. He's going to have to actually commit towards the actual minion wave.
Junglers going to fight each other here. Both level 5. Stayos does have a tunnel available to him.
But that's excellent. Like, PvP Stayos needs to start doing this. He really does need to just quickly look to track Oddie. Now, that was not good for him in the sense that he did, even though he built well, he had double longswords, he can take the skirmish. He got jumped on, so that's not the proper, he couldn't take the trade coming forward. Regardless of that, next time it'll be better, and this time he just knows that Gragas is topside.
And being able to track, exactly as you rightly said, knowing that Gragas is topside enables the bottom lane to play a little bit more aggressively, but also allows Licrit to roam around the map and get some deep vision. You can see him now moving through the river and just exerting what pressure he can. And this is something that Licrit has done time and time again, but when he knows where the enemy jungler, it just frees up his decision-making and his pathing.
It's so hard for the Janna to even punish Lucian in a 2v1, so Licrit kind of free to roam at will. Actually, a lot of damage being taken by Licrit here. He really has to respect the Ashe.
That is the power of the Janna shield, especially once you've got the full stacks of focus as well. You can heavily punish an opponent for overstepping.
You know, I'm actually incredibly surprised White Lotus, even though the double sums were up, he didn't just like look to commit towards that. He's done that throughout the entire, or at least at the very beginning of the series.
But it's match point now. He's restraining himself just a little bit, knowing that one more win can take him to Worlds.
His support's probably restraining him for him, just holding him back, saying, don't do it. I know what you want to do. It's not the smart idea.
I can shield you, but that's about it. You're on your own after that
His hands are just shaking over his keyboard, over the F button. He just... Can I flash?
Looks over Arce, just giving him like the death stare, like, don't you dare. The trade is good enough. But Licrit, he went back, he bought himself that early mobility boot, so looking to roam around the map. The wandering caretaker already wandering. Good sign.
Now, notice the CS difference in the mid lane. It wasn't that big before, and it's somewhat snowballed out of control, in part due to Stagers once again making his presence known in the mid lane. After Saya lost his flash, he had to concede a lot of the presence, and now this is the aggression that you were talking earlier on about, Raz, where you wanted to see them not only track the enemy jungler, but just put a little bit more pressure down onto Oddie, and Stages has actually just taken both red and blue away from Oddie. He's had no support available. Licrit roaming around with him has made it so much easier to take those as well, that so far the early game is going heavily in the favor of Albus NoX in terms of pressure.
So he just completely, I love the camera, just completely faded away from the
he used one of his summoner spells there. Saya.
Yeah, so he got it.
Smurf getting a nice favorable trade against Gerald, but that's range versus melee, right? Hits him with the hype, but doesn't catch the boomerang. Flashes in. Good ulti from Gerald to avoid the Nah, but summoner spell advantage goes to Gerald. You're going to be doing a good job of controlling that wave. There's the ultimate Chaos Storm being used. Damage actually getting turned around. Arce there. Ghost being popped. Kira, he has to get himself to safety. Might be in trouble. Flash Frost comes down. Here is Seos. No flash available for Saya. Can't find the knocker, but Arce does have the shield and the tornado keep his laner safe.
I understood what Kira was trying to do. Unfortunately, he missed his ulti, couldn't get the initial damage proc. The second damage proc didn't really get in as well, so Saya just saw the opportunity and the misplay and chased him down. Both of them don't have much mana for this.
Yeah, it was the mana that resulted in Saya not being able to get the kill, because when he did throw out the E, the slow no longer applied as White Lotus.
Oh, he just might get completely destroyed here. Culling coming on through. Is the Janna shield enough? Eye of the Storm keeps him safe, but has to flash and heal.
Good body block from Arce, but White Lotus, he was hesitant to walk into that brush, yet he did it anyway. Didn't use his W, or perhaps he did just a little bit too late. And that's going to be both summoners gone now for White Lotus. Miracle finally getting himself a bit more pressure in this bottom lane, and this should start to result in a CS advantage in the early game for the bottom lane too. So now we're starting to see the pressure turn into results for Albus NoX. The constant invades coming out from Stagios, the constant pushing from all of the laners is resulting in Oddie being unable to help his laners out very much, and just slowly the Lyon side lanes and mid lane just gradually being bled out of farm.
Look, and it's a 2,000 gold lead already, only 11 minutes in the game, purely from CS alone. No towers or kills going to either team. So ANX, when they're up against the wall, they play some of their best League of Legends.
Yeah, so it was just a great adaptation. Whoever is in that coaching staff, great job for them to recognize what they needed to do to really put down this team. So Lyon, it's still fine for them. They still have a great amount of scaling in their composition, and White Lotus is just tick 7, so he's at a good point where he's gonna, honestly, this team's gonna start to look towards making a play for themselves. It's gonna happen. Right now, they just need to find themselves out of this rut.
Kira does have the enhanced Q available, giving him that movement speed, so should be a little bit easier to dodge away from the Anivia Qs when they come on in. Giving some favorable trades here. Arce trying to match the roam from Licrit, but no boots, only operating off his innate movement speed off Zephyr, so it's going to be quite slow.
Note the level difference between the two AD carries as well, because Miracle has spent so much time in a solo lane.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned earlier on, Rogi, the Janna can't really punish the Lucian for just sitting here. Not only does it enable Licrit to roam around the map, but it's actually resulted in a big experience advantages. White Lotus.
Oh, this could be bad. Gets completely destroyed. Here comes Seos, not able to find the knock-up. There's the damage. First blood coming over to Miracle. Are they looking for more? Arce might be in trouble. Forces to use the flash because there's Kira. Not going to find anything more, though.
I love the fact that they continue to chase that. Now they got the flash off of Janna, but once again, PvP Steos is not letting the series go. His pressure towards the spot side has been relentless throughout the series, and they've even brought in Kira, so that may not have been the best for Kira, but they're going to chase on to Sia.
Oh, Ghost being used, just flashes over the Q. Chaos Storm doing the damage, but he may have been in a bad position. Does get the egg, but loses his life for it. Oddie, right place, right time.
Kira tries to flash aggressively over the Flash Frost, thinking that he has the damage to out-trade the Anivia. What he doesn't respect is the Gragas Flash coming in from the flank, and that results in him getting so heavily punished for his overcommit. Really good response from Lyon to get another kill on the board.
What did I tell you? He's omnipresent. They've been tracking him the entire game, and he still gets that play after a sliver, a one moment in time that he honestly was. They just didn't have an idea where he was. But you just have to respect it. You can't go in for those engages simply because Kira felt like he was behind. He went for that bottom lane roam when he didn't get anything off of it. So it was an opportunity, a moment where Saya could just shove it into tower. Kira just didn't like that fact.
ANX did get the bot lane tower as well off that initial kill onto White Lotus. Gold probably going to Miracle, so nearly 3,000 gold advantage now, getting themselves further and further ahead, really using that early game advantage well.
This is how you take advantage of Illusion, and this is also why I'm not really a fan of the Janna pick, because the fact that Liquid roams so much, there's no, that even if you fire the arrow, right, with the Ashe, during the laning phase, there's nothing that you can do against the Lucian. What the Janna does provide is great utility in the mid to late game, but what they're hoping is that the Lucian doesn't build up a big enough lead, that the Ashe is too far behind come the mid game for them to really be able to do anything. As an arrow lands onto Kira.
Well, he might be in trouble. Flash Frost follows. That's a good layer of CC, but remember, Saya has no egg available. Arce has been hit by the ultimate. Now he's standing on the gravity field, not going to get stunned. A great Monsoon to keep himself to safety, but where he's going, it's straight into Miracle's guns.
Albus NoX were ready for the play. They quickly respond to the setup that LYN tried to have onto their mid laner. They're able to turn it around. They get themselves an Infernal Drake. And Albus NoX are taking firm control of this early game.
And they just did not have a way to follow up on that kill. Victor was stunned, double stunned off the Anivia Q, walled up. Even though the wall wasn't perfect, he was able to slip right through. Just no real damage able to get right on him. So unfortunately, as you said, the Janna pick is starting to fall through.
The thing that's starting to bother me largely about LYN's comp is Kira takes a lot of damage.
He could be in trouble here, forces to use a Chaos Storm, but now he's out of mana and so you're in a great position to take back control of his mid lane.
Alright, so the problem I have with this comp from LYN is it feels very much like they've drafted to deny Albus rather than to pick what they feel they're strong on. As Kira, yeah, he's dead.
That's just straight greedy Kira. Steos now gets walled off, stunned up. Do they have anything more? A beautiful Janna Tornado. She's back in the game, interrupts the burrow.
That was a misplay from Albus NoX, but the composition from LYN, there is a great strength to them. The strength to it is just the objective play. If you have positioning on the Dragon, if you have positioning on the Baron, then you should be able to win out in any and all situations. Unfortunately, that's the only strength you have. So the strength and the advantages that they should accrue for themselves isn't really working out. They can't follow up on it.
Their late game team fighting is still powerful, and I completely agree with you that, like, as a comp, it's absolutely fine. I don't have any issue with the comp. I just have an issue with LYN playing the comp because this doesn't feel like a LYN style of composition where they excel at. The Gragas does not enable Oddie to exert early game pressure. The Ashe compared up with the Janna means that White Lotus can't be as dominant as he usually is. Saya is not on this assassin style of play where he can make those outplays, and even though he's doing a good job against Kira, it's not really resulting in any significant leads, and this was largely just a big misplay from Albus NoX, overstaying in the mid lane, and honestly a fantastic tornado coming out from Arce to interrupt the escape from Stagers. But so far, LYN, they're shutting me up a little bit as they are making this composition work as the game progresses. But we'll have to see if they're able to turn it into a win and net themselves a spot in the World Championships.
Yeah, it's a good point. Since Game 3, LYN did come back off of simply going back to their style, going back to the Elise, going back to the pressure Audi can output now that he's constantly getting tracked. They're going towards a team fight style. So if they can conquer that, if they can say that this is not our only identity, that we can play towards team fight and sacrifice a bit of our own usual historic strength, then that's a good plus to them. But it's game 4. This is match point, world's point, as you mentioned earlier. This is pretty ballsy.
Well, last time they had the one-game buffer, they went with the Zac pick, so these guys do like to play a little bit with fire, so it seems. But once again, ANX do fall victim to similar traits, getting caught out.
It's a Ghost gone.
Mid-game. Well, he can't seem to find the initiate onto Steos, but like you said, Ghost being used by Saya to get himself to safety.
So he's decided to go for the early Rod of Ages. Not sure how he holds it, but nevertheless, going to be stacking up over time.
In his beak.
In his beak.
In his beak, come on, man.
In his beak.
What
That's
else
like
is he doesn't need it for anything else. He
way
doesn't
to
have
hold
a peck, so it's not going to inhibit any of his moves.
I like the fact that you guys are questioning the staff, not so much the boots.
He has claws.
His feet. He puts them on the feet. Sure, they're talons, but they still fit.
I'll give you that.
Come on, Raz.
And he has one shoe. He could just wear it as a necklace. It doesn't matter. What's important here is the fact that he's scaling. I wasn't sure where I was going. Like, what is the important thing?
We started this conversation talking about how he's holding the rower, but the real important thing, he's scaling better because he's getting there.
Getting there.
He's got the tier, he's got the rower.
He's going to be working towards the Archangel staff and turns that into a Seraph's Embrace. Whoever this Seraph is, all they want to do is embrace you. And it gives you a lovely shield, funnily enough.
Shield has done a lot of damage, especially with Seiya when he's had that. That's only meant that he's going to push in further. He's had it on the Cassiopeia earlier in this series, and he's only used it to flash in towards the Jhin. So he's that's a shield of aggression.
It's efficient use of the effective health that you get.
It's one of those things, if you're playing Kog'Maw, you're playing Karthus, and you're not utilizing the passives, you're not using the champion correctly, so you've got to make sure you're utilizing the shield correctly. You've got to be in there. If it's not taking any damage, you're not utilizing your shield.
Ooh. I was going to say, who do you know that plays Kog'Maw and Karthus?
White Lotus. Played the Kog'Maw. No Karthus yet, but we saw the Kog'Maw. So
now, Albus NoX taking advantage of the fact that LYN are somewhat out of position. They're getting a lot of damage down to this. They should be able to get this one for free.
Yeah.
Honestly, just an oversight, putting much more focus on the mid lane. So it looks like the LYN will return with this mid lane tower. But in terms of map control, they're definitely behind Albus NoX right now.
Dragon spawning in 35 seconds, so that mid lane tower does open up quite a bit of the map for LYN, if they choose to fight around it.
I prefer the mid lane tower simply because it allows them a little more opportunity to save ooh.
Deus is able to get himself to safety for now. Jirol hits the body slam, but not going to be enough.
But yeah, it gives him a longer push, a larger push, especially since Seiya can now contest the push against the Victor to shove him into tower and then walk towards the objective so if they seem it fit. I think it's a good idea. Just comes to how they play around the lost tower towards the top side now.
Ashe completed her Runan's Hurricane on the side of Miracle. He's got that Ghost Blade and the makings, of course, on the Black Cleaver. Dragon is now live. It is the Mountain Drake, and look at Oddie. He's around there. We can see here the Rek'Sai ult coming in, seeing that she's going towards that red buff. Does have the Tremor Sense and the ward available.
Victor does have to answer the mid lane tower, the wave.
Dragon down to about 3.5k health. Doesn't look like they're going to contest this one. Smurf is in on the side. He is mega, but it's getting low. Rage meter falling down. Oddie might just look for that one. Stayhost forced to burrow to safety and should be a free dragon.
There's a bit of contention from Albus NoX, but because they didn't have the Lucian, they didn't want to hard commit. They were just posturing to say, let's throw out an ability. Maybe he misses his smite. Maybe we can sneakily take this one away, but they weren't that invested in trying to commit. They're more interested in getting mid lane priority and pushing onto this mid tier 1.
Oh, that's a great gravity field comes down, just pops the ulti and pops the ghost. So it is, of course, because they're coming round to the side. Seos, he might be in trouble. A great ulti onto the tower, but is it enough to heal? Keep Seos alive for now. Seiya trying to find a Flash Frost. Does get it onto a Miracle, cancels the culling early.
Now, they couldn't get the kill on PvP Stayhouse, but that was still a great shove back. Not only were they able to shove Victor to his tower, get the dragon off of it, head right back to the mid tower, save it as well. Albus NoX didn't get anything off of that.
I want to praise Liquid as well for that ultimate. Yeah, using it onto the tower so that a couple extra tower shots wouldn't hit his jungler could have really been the determining factor that kept him alive. But also a really good heal from Miracle to help out Stagos. And as you rightly said, good response from both teams in all honesty. The question is now, have LYN just completely left this tower to the hands of Albus NoX? Does seem that they will be able to keep it alive. But they need to get a little bit more map control. They need to look to try and take down this tower. See now, if we just look at the map, right? White Lotus was top lane. You know where the Gnar is, you know where the Lucian is, you know that Victor has just gone back to base. The only people that you don't know is the support and the jungler. If you just extend your vision line ever so slightly, you should be able to spot out where the enemy Rek'Sai is, and that makes it so much easier to take that tier 1 tower in the top lane. White Lotus could have just kept pushing. He could have asked Arce to move with Oddie into the enemy jungle, or even just the river, and just get a bit of vision down to enable you to start exerting pressure on the other side of the map. And this is what we've been critiquing LYN for so often. They just don't know how to play around these other objectives. They don't know how to push anything else. They're just grouping up mid. They're waiting for someone to be out of position. They're looking for a pick. They are a good team at knowing how to kill people. But when it comes to taking down towers and playing around objectives, they just seem to have no foresight or any way of being able to pick themselves up.
Definitely seems to be a crux to this team right now. Just their inability to be able to pressure everywhere else on the map. So once again, moving as a 3-man unit up to the top. kind of answering the call that ANX is doing right now. You can see Miracle, Licrit, and Steos off on the side. There's the battle. Tempered Fate lands onto Arce. We know these guys have no problem going all in on the support. Not able to kill him, but now Steos in the thick of it. Chaos Storm is actually able to pick up Oddie. He's still alive on the back of that one. Gerald TP's in, so does Smurf. Good ulti from White Lotus. Only hits Licrit though. Sayers now joined the fight.
So Lyon were in a good position, an interesting position. If they were able to defend that turret,
not going to go in.
It would have been fine.
I thought Smurf was going to flash on that for sure.
Right now, Lyon are just doing what they can to defend this turret. They do trade jungler for jungler, but a lot of ultimates are unavailable. Ooh, it's Smurf. He's going to be able to get out of that sticky situation. So
Albus
nothing really gained from that trade.
Yeah, Albus NoX had the shove. They had the initial tempo heading up to that tower. Janna just walked far too close to that bush and got caught out of it.
24 minutes in the game. Albus NoX still holding about a 3,000 gold lead here. Black Cleaver has now been completed by Miracle. White Lotus still working towards that Infinity Edge. Saya still snacking up his tier, making sure he can get that Archangel soon. Actually went for the Forbidden Chapters, so wants that mana regen, even though Morellonomicon not in his immediate future.
I think it's important to backtrack to how we got to this point as well, because right now, if you look, the kills are in favor of Lyon, but the gold is in favor of Albus, and this is because of what was happening during the laning phase. Albus got a big advantage down to the bottom lane. They got that very early tower. They then swapped their bottom lane up to the top half of the map, and they just kept Gnar into the bottom lane, and they just kept the pressure up. Gerald has no real way to kill that Gnar, and because of the power of the Lucian Bard, it's become exceedingly difficult for White Lotus to continue laning against him. That resulted in Miracle being able to take that second turret up in the top lane. In exchange, Lyon did get the tier 1 in the mid, but in terms of overall map control, a lot of it has resulted from the early advantage that Miracle was able to accrue. The question now for Albus is what can they do with the advantage that they have been able to build up for themselves? There is a big spike on top of Kira, there is a big spike on top of Miracle, and they just need to try and force this. The only way they can really force a fight is using the Bard, and with the dragon spawning in about a minute's time, this is the objective where Albus could look to try and snowball their lead.
You can see Miracle up in the top, just going to be prepping that wave, making sure that Gerald has to deal with it, and Kira forced to use a Ghost in the mid. Looks like something went a little bit scary there, so not going to have that available for the immediate dragon fight. There's a minute off. It is another Infernal Drake, so Albus NoX Luna have already won under their belt. A second would look great in the trophy room.
Yeah, Lyon are in a really difficult position as the top tower is getting shoved in, getting chipped down completely. So now not only is the dragon, yeah, exactly. So they really did get caught out with Albus NoX shoving out this wave consistently. So I was actually surprised that there was so much pressure for PvP Stejos in the bottom side of the map. I felt like he should have been top side to at least clear out the vision. He didn't have a pink, so I can understand why he didn't make that decision. But if he had purchased the pink when he was back, walked top, clear out the vision that Lyon had set up in their own jungle, then you could have actually shoved that lane once more and then start the pressure mid.
Thing is, like, Lyon was so invested in trying to set up for that dragon that they just completely unaware of that play even being set up. Albus NoX did a great job of punishing the mispositioning and realizing the fact that Lyon keep playing ARAM. They keep sending 3 members mid. And so there was no immediate response. And honestly, Albus NoX again outplaying Lyon on the map, and now they have all their members to contend for this dragon.
There is vision on it for Lyon. Miracle over the wall in the back of that. Kira, he's been hit up, but a beautiful ulti from the crit keeps him safe for now. Smurfy's nearly mega in the backlines. Kira trying to hold off Gerald, but look, he goes back in the fight. Smurf doesn't have the ultimate available. A beautiful double stun from the crit with the wall, keeping them safe for now. Sayo, he's over the wall. He's found one. Can't find another. They get themselves the Infernal and a kill.
Albus NoX playing this beautifully right now. Not only do they get themselves the Infernal Drake, but they also get a kill. Now they're in prime position to die.
Oh, White Lotus just gets stunned up. A beautiful flash Q from Licrit. His Bard is a thing of absolute beauty right now. That would be an aggressive journey. I'll just say that for now.
But Licrit throughout his entire game has been, or at least in that dragon fight, was fantastic. His ulti to save out Kira was perfect, and it really denied Audi entirely in that engage front and created an opportunity of their own, including his Q. So now they're just going to go for this Baron.
Well, Baron's getting lower and lower, below 3,000 health. I think they're just going to have to forfeit this one away, and ANX from nowhere get the top tower, rotate to Dragon, win the fight there, and use that advantage to get the Baron.
But notice the difference between the two teams. Because it is 28.5 minutes, Albus NoX have a Baron.
Yeah.
It took LYN 40 minutes to do that exact same play. And this is just because Albus are playing the map better. They are punishing your mistakes and your mispositioning. Albus just have such a better awareness of where to allocate their laners and where they have strong players and where they have weaker players, and they're just playing the map around that factor. Whereas LYN, they're just sticking to what they know. Oh, Dragon's up, let's just group around Dragon, hang around, wait, and then they get punished for it. Oh, we don't have any objectives to play for, let's group mid, let's keep pushing mid, maybe we'll wait for a pick. No, you can't do that. That's not how League of Legends work. And Albus NoX have just slowly been getting better and better throughout this series. And right now, they're on track to take us to a Game 5.
But this comes to the intelligence of this team in and off the Rift. Because the planning coming into each game during this best of 5, excellently done from Albus NoX. They recognize the power point of Lyon Gaming, not only just the weaknesses of their mid, of their ARAM positioning, but also the strength of their early game. That they were actually getting bullied around by Audi, not only just off of lanes, but in jungle matchup alone. So they actually gave themselves not only a proper jungle matchup, but when they had the shove, then Audi was just always getting caught out. Not caught out in terms of, yeah, he was fine. He was coming out of, he wasn't even touched, honestly, in certain points.
Oh, Tempered Fate actually catches him. He's going to get knocked up, then stunned. Ooh. The gravity field is enough to get Audi back in the fight as well. The Chaos Storm just doing work. He's still alive. Monsoon is the saving grace for that, but they're going to get themselves a mid lane tier 2.
But they're just barreling down with this game. The moment they nullified Audi's pressure, okay.
Forced to flash, forced to ult. Top lane inhibitor turret goes down. Inhibitor soon to follow. And this is what ANX do when they get a lead. They don't let up.
They're taking advantage of the fact that they know how to just push their advantage. Say it's supposed to be this fantastic wave clear mid laner, but they aren't even given an opportunity. Albus NoX are playing this incredibly well. They just pick up 2 free inhibitors. They're now moving down to the bottom lane to take the third. And we talked about it after Game 2. Albus NoX just looks so much more convincing in their wins. And in all honesty, LYN, they're going to collapse right here, right now.
Look, can we ask, what can Miracle play if not the Jhin and the Ashe? Turns out he's pretty damn good at Lucian because his cullings have been a real key factor in dealing the damage while staying at range. And that's just seems to be what he likes about playing ADC.
So far, he's definitely taken advantage of his fight. Yeah, that's Lucian mid-game.
Tempered Fate onto 2 members, but not the tower. Perfect positioning, knock up onto Saya. No egg this time. They're going in, and they're going in hot. Another kill onto the Janna. That's going to be 3 inhibitors down.
I mean, they have a wave here. That's 40 seconds on the Anivia. They have to be the one taking this game out.
Look, they're going for it right now. 2 Nexus turrets down. 5 members around for LYN. Can they do this? Can they defend? But ANX, they're looking to tie this up. They're looking to bring it 2-2. Their world's dream does not end here because they're going to take down the towers. They're going to take down the Nexus, and they're going to take us to game number 5.
Wow. Albus NoX, you count them out time and time again, but they bring it to a game 5, showing resilience and smarts.
I'm very impressed. I mean, Albus NoX. We have to backtrack to something we were talking earlier on. This was not a LYN comp. They very much picked to try and deny Albus NoX rather than to play what they were comfortable on. And I feel like that strategy does not fit their playstyle. And, I mean, Liquid still got his bards. You still were able to get the Rek'Sai to exert any pressure. And it was these plays that it really snowballed the game in Albus NoX's favor because they got early kills onto the Lucian. They continued to rotate around the map and take advantage of where they could. And even though Kira was the dummy in this situation where he just had to deal with all of the damage coming down from the side of LYN, it was just the fact that on the side lanes and the fact that Gnar was putting constant pressure out and the fact that Lucian was just so unkillable and did so much damage in these fights that resulted in Albus NoX being able to net themselves another win.
Yeah, and so it feels like a bit of a replay of Game 2 of just the constant pressure coming out of PvP Seos, not only in lane, but also just through constant look and invades. So you cannot put yourself in this position if you're LYN. You need to start going back to what's tried and true. I know they've given themselves this opportunity to try something out, try to take away team fight strength from this team, but they should just play with what they've known best. They've done it in the regular split, and now they're struggling. Game 5 up against an Albus NoX. Popular thought was a 3-0 for this one.
I feel like for Lyon, or for Albus NoX to close this one out, because bear in mind again, blue side have won 9 out of the 10 games in this playoff.
Yeah.
Lyon will be moving back to blue side for game 5. Lyon are looking dominant. They're looking very impressive when they get the picks that they need. For Albus NoX, they just need to accept the fact that bans need to be less of a priority. You should give away things because you have answers to them. We have seen little Talia, we have seen little Kassadin. Leave the Vlad open, bait your opponents into picking it, and then just get the other OPs. Take this Rex side because it enables you to have so much more early pressure. Try and get yourself the nod. Try and get yourself winning lane matchups, because what we've seen so far throughout this series is whoever is able to get that early lead is the one that's able to eventually close out the game.
Yeah, exactly. And with a bigger point too is the fact that Miracle is able to play Lucian. That's a fact. Not even just able to play Lucian. He was given the lead. Really, he's just on any AD carry. He can just barrel that through. So now the pressure, the focus that we saw from Lyon Gaming of trying to deny the pick backfired in their end, and going into the next game, they just need to play their style.
Alrighty, guys, we are one more game from finding out which team is going to be going to the World Championship. Don't go anywhere. We're going to have a quick break, but you don't want to miss